We are invisible. It's been that way since 1619, when invisibility was thrust on our ancestors, cloaking their identities and effectively erasing any sense of worth or belonging. In the 400 years since then, the invisible men and women of this nation have scraped and clawed for those things which were taken from us. We hold on to a hyphen, though more American than African, desperately clinging to a land that hasn't been home for generations. We seek acceptance, identity, love from the nation that we built. Our cries, though, fall on deaf ears. We are placated with equivocations. That happens to a lot of people. It's not a race thing. Or we are pacified with sympathies. You know, I'm so sorry, and I'm praying for our world, from well-meaning white friends who have the luxury of silence. All of this to say, people simply refuse to see us. So we retreat to the periphery, tired of fighting windmills, tired of trying to be understood when no one is seeking to understand. No sympathy, no equivocation smooths the racism wrinkle, and those of us on the receiving end learn to live with its permanence, elevating where we can and sacrificing where we can't. Our plight is a tiring one, and yet we persist anyway. The fire for equality has always burned bright within us. We have always been unseen, unwanted, unvalued, our pleas for equality and justice ignored, at most only ever free-ish. James Baldwin said, "To be Black and conscious in America is to be in a constant state of rage, a rage that burns brighter and hotter with every Black life gunned down by malevolent cops and vigilantes." In the emotion of a moment, our feeds were filled with Black squares, social media symbols of solidarity. Books on Blackness by Black authors were back-ordered. Our white friends and neighbors tuned into live streams and podcasts, thirsty for us to share our experiences so that they too could champion our cause. We are on the precipice of great change. A civil rights movement turned revolution in which voices of privilege lift with ours and a sleeping nation begins to open its eyes. For the first time, white folks see us. And more than that, they see their humanity reflected in us. This shift in our collective consciousness is the momentum we need to create the change that we have always longed for, the change that Dr. King never realized, the change that elected Barack Obama, the change we desire for our children and future generations. But that change cannot happen without us, the darker brothers and sisters who too sing America. We are no longer just dreamers. We are revolutionaries, and our leadership is paramount. We can no longer cry out for our voices to be heard, yet silence ourselves at the polls. We must elect leaders whose platforms directly reflect our interests. Racism is a socio-political construct in which discriminatory practices have been embedded in the very fiber of our democracy so that the white and privileged are most advantaged. If Black lives matter, then so do the policies that govern them. You see, context is critical to progress. And understanding racism's roots in America as more than white over Black is essential to effecting enduring change. Admitting that racism is as political as many say it isn't. It's a matter of the heart, some say. And they're right. Racism can be found at the very heart of this nation, alive in every cornerstone upon which this country was founded. It's in the independence that wasn't declared for my ancestors. It's in the original Constitution that guaranteed freedoms for people, just not the people considered property. It's even in the stone and brick quarried by slaves to build a White House that is supposed to symbolize a democracy that works for all of its people. You see, when we are educated and truly understand where a thing comes from, only then can we begin to hack at the root instead of the branches. The lives of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and so many others require that we address racism at its root. We must be committed to educating ourselves and others. White folks and allies must commit to the journey of anti-racist work, recognizing that these are not acute incidences, but rather a chronic problem that belongs to all of us. For those of you just beginning to raise your voices for change, be emboldened to engage in dialogue, to reflect, to read, to listen. For those of us who have always used our voices for change, we cannot become complacent or resistant in our roles to inform and transform perspectives. We can no longer plead for empathy, yet refuse to engage in candid conversations with our white friends desperate to champion our cause. Right now, we have an opportunity to seize the visibility we've ached for. Allies seeking perspective and actionable ways to fight with us are looking to us. Our voices are the ones most in demand, and our words have the power to inspire a movement unlike anything we've seen before. The privileged are laying their color blindfolds aside, proclaiming the inequities that have always plagued the Black folk of this nation. At long last, we have a chance. For decades, we've lifted our voices, singing a song of the faith our dark past has taught us. It's the faith that wakes us up and gives us the courage to persist. It's the faith at the very core of the Black experience. It's the faith that even privilege can't silence. Today, we sing a song full of the hope of the present. Let's carry that into the coming days, weeks, months, and years as we march on together.